My most memorable fostering moment happened with a little girl by the name of Jacqueline, and she had lived with us for about 16 months. My goal for Jacqueline from the very first day that I met her was I wanted her to be 3. She was what the social workers call parentified. She very much took care of her younger brother to the point where she would change his diapers, tell me if he was sick and needed medicine. She would never eat anything without giving him something first. And every night when I went to go check on them, Jacqueline came out of her room and was snuggled up next to her brother in his little toddler bed just to keep him safe. Jacqueline would take John to the bathroom with her and never had her back turned towards her brother, never for a second. And my goal was always, I just wanted this little girl to be a little girl. And it was about 10 months into fostering her when trying to forge this relationship of trust with her that we would never hurt them, that I came into the living room and just stopped because Jacqueline actually had her back turned towards her brother and was playing with a doll. And I just stood there and cried because I thought we finally did it. You know, she trusts us enough that she can have her back turned towards her brother and play with a doll and be 3. So that tops my most memorable moment of being a foster parent.
One of my most memorable moments about being a foster parent, I believe, is the moment that we invited our son's biological mom to our home for the first time. It was like the culmination of all the work that we had put into his life and into her life, and kind of bridging the gap between us as foster parents and the biological family. And in the moment, we were driving in my husband's car with his biological mom, and I'll never forget when he kind of looked around at all of our faces and realized that every person in this car is someone who loves me, and was kind of introducing us. He said my name, and then he introduced me to his biological mother and introduced her to me. And it was just this moment of, this is it. We're helping this child kind of reconcile the multiple parts of his life, and we're doing it together in partnership.
I have a lot of memorable fostering moments, but one that just sticks out in my mind, we had a placement of a little boy who was 2, and he had been in a few placements, and he had just come into our home, and we go to the zoo a lot. So I have the zoo pass, we've got the little ones, that's what we do. And so we went to the zoo one day, and I had 2 other little 1-year-olds and him with me. And we were walking around with a friend, and we just went into the aquarium building. You know, it's just a normal trip. We go here, we go here, we go to the fish, and we went into the aquarium building, and we got inside, and he wanted to get out of the stroller. So I let him out of the stroller, and this little boy, he just walked right up to the tank. That's the huge wall of windows, and with the big fish, and he just walked up to it, and he put his hands on it, and he just stood there, and he just stared at these fish, and he just turned around and looked at me, and he was just so excited, and he said, fishy, 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 and he ran to me, and he ran back to the window, and I think he would have stood there for an hour. So I don't know how many times I had seen that fish tank, but for him, that was just this huge experience. And so these kids don't get that, you know, they don't always have those opportunities. So to see that in a 2-year-old who is just amazed at something like that, I just remember his face and, you know, that excitement that he had looking at that fish tank. And that's just one of those memories that sticks out to me, that I wonder if he would have had that chance.
Our most memorable fostering moment is probably one that just recently happened, and that's the adoption of our daughter. She came to us at 10 months old, and she was probably only going to stay about 2 months is what we were told, and she ended up staying over 3 years, and we just recently adopted her last month. So that was a big memorable moment for us. But there's been other memorable moments that maybe seem small, but they're big moments. We just took in a sibling group of 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, a month ago. And we sat down the first week that we had them, and we did homework with the 3rd grader and the kindergartner. And they looked at us and they said, nobody's ever done homework with us. And that's a big deal. That's a big moment. It seems maybe small, but it's a big moment. And later that night when we went through our bedtime routine, I went in the room with the girls and I said, okay, I'm going to pick out some books and I'll be right back and I'm going to read to you. And they just kind of looked at me blank. And I said, I'll be right back. I'm just going to get some books and I'll read to you. And as I closed the door and I was leaving, they don't know that I heard them, but the kindergartner looked at the third grader and said, she is going to read to us. She is going to read books to us. And the third grader said, I know, she's coming back. And that's such a huge moment. It's just such a huge moment. They haven't had a bedtime routine. They haven't been read to. And, she's coming back, So it's stuff like that happens just day in and day out in the life of a foster parent that's so huge. That's such big moments.